Now she's saying that the kids aren't even Charlie's. So basically, Erika Kirk was left with no will money, no merch sale money, nothing after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He put that his children are going to get all the money.
Charlie Kirk's parents have apparently stepped away from the custody situation with Erika, and the timing has people completely stunned and demanding answers. This isn't being framed online as giving up or losing interest in their grandchildren. The talk spreading across every platform right now is that they walked away because an alleged DNA result changed the entire legal landscape overnight. And once that claim started circulating, nothing has been the same since. According to what's being shared widely, a DNA test reportedly revealed they had no legal standing to pursue custody because the children were allegedly not biologically Charlie's. That is the claim shaking social media right now with extraordinary force. And while some people are genuinely shocked to be reading those words, a large and vocal portion of the audience is saying the signs were sitting in plain sight the entire time.
Whose kids are these? Erika Kirk provided this as proof of where she was.
From the complete absence of any publicly shared maternity photos to those strikingly personal clips of Erika, alongside a former partner that resurfaced in recent months, critics have been building this specific case and connecting these specific dots across an extended period. For a long time, people questioned whether Erika and Charlie actually built their family together in the straightforward way that was publicly presented, or whether something about the documented timeline never quite aligned with the official story. Now that Charlie's parents have reportedly stepped back entirely and left Erika to face the mounting questions without their visible challenge, the pressure is building at a pace that shows no sign of slowing. The narrative that once sounded solid and emotionally resonant is developing visible and specific cracks under scrutiny that is becoming more organized and more targeted with each passing week. And the question echoing loudest across every platform is direct and unavoidable. Did Charlie himself ever doubt what he was being told? And if those doubts existed, did he ever confront Erika about them behind closed doors where no cameras were present? Here's where the intensity escalates even further, because some online commentators are pointing directly to Erika's own words as the origin point of this specific wave of speculation.
Where are Charlie's parents? Who are Charlie's parents? I think that is a question that we have all asked. Matter of fact, let me just take it a step further. Where are his cousins?
During a widely discussed CBS interview, she openly and voluntarily referenced hiding during her pregnancies. And that single word choice lit an immediate and sustained fire across the internet. The moment it aired, people started asking why someone would need to hide during a pregnancy at all. Was it a genuinely innocent and poorly worded way of describing a desire for privacy? Or was there something operating beneath that specific choice of language that revealed more than intended? Nobody has confirmed anything officially through any verifiable process, but the moment those words went out publicly, timelines got scrutinized, screenshots started circulating, and old clips began spreading with a velocity that clearly indicated the audience had been waiting for exactly this kind of opening. The internet didn't just react, it organized itself into a full and sustained investigation almost immediately. Erika's stated explanation was straightforward. She wanted peace and genuine protection for her family during a vulnerable period, and keeping her pregnancies private was how she achieved that. Clean, simple, and on its own surface entirely reasonable. But a significant number of people online weren't satisfied, particularly when they started examining what happened to that stated commitment to privacy in the period following Charlie's death. Because once Charlie passed, privacy very visibly stopped functioning as any kind of priority.
I intentionally, when I was pregnant, hid. Not because I was embarrassed, not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private. But it's because it was a moment very sacred. I was growing a human inside of me, my baby.
Erika appeared everywhere and consistently. Interviews, memorial events, emotional social media clips, all of it placed directly in front of the public eye with apparent deliberateness. She appeared at the memorial giving emotional interviews and sharing intimate details about their life together. She posted a video of herself and her daughter going through gifts supporters had sent following Charlie's death. The spotlight didn't just find her, she moved toward it with visible confidence and apparent comfort. And that complete reversal of the stated privacy commitment is what made people start examining the earlier explanation with much more skepticism. If privacy during pregnancy was genuinely the driving value, the absence of that same value in the aftermath of Charlie's death created a contrast that critics found impossible to rationalize. Some began asking whether the pregnancies were hidden for reasons that had nothing to do with a general desire for peace. Whether there were specific conversations and specific people whose questions would have been genuinely inconvenient to face during that period.
Hi.
Hi!
Good morning, America!
I've lived in China. I've lived in Chongqing. I've been to Romania. I've been to Croatia. Lived in Puerto Rico for a little bit. Really handsome.
You look gorgeous.
No official confirmation exists, but the contrast itself keeps generating the questions regardless. No matter how consistently she attempted to address and shut down the speculation, the questions kept coming back more organized and more specific each time. And the more people searched through documented footage and reconstructed timelines, the more complicated the picture appeared to become. One resurfaced ultrasound video in particular sent social media into a completely different level of overdrive. On its face, the clip appeared to confirm pregnancy, and for some viewers that should have settled things. But people zoomed in on specific details within the frame, and what caught immediate and widespread attention was the name displayed on the screen. The name shown read Erika FPE, not Erika Kirk. That single frame generated an enormous volume of threads, breakdown videos, and detailed analysis, because publicly and consistently, she has presented herself as Erika Kirk or Mrs. Kirk across every platform and in every public context since their marriage. The displayed name raised immediate and specific questions. Was it a former name, a registration error, a maiden name she maintained in certain medical contexts, or something else entirely that deserved serious examination? To be fair, ultrasound machines display whatever name is entered at registration, and completely innocent administrative explanations exist for that kind of discrepancy.
I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband, well, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line, and I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi.
But the online investigators who had already been building a detailed case around Erika's story did not slow down for nuance or alternative explanations. They treated that frame as significant evidence and dissected every pixel and visible timestamp with the kind of focused attention that a detail of that nature generates when it appears inside a story already filled with accumulated suspicion. And in that specific context, even a minor and potentially explainable inconsistency carried enough weight to keep the speculation alive and growing for an extended period. Since marrying Charlie, Erika had built her entire public brand around the identity of Erika Kirk, traditional Christian wife, devoted mother, the woman carrying forward her husband's legacy. That constructed identity was central to everything she presented publicly. So when the ultrasound screen didn't display the surname that was supposedly central to who she was, critics experienced it as jarring and inconsistent in ways that felt significant, regardless of whether a benign explanation existed. From there, theories began stacking up rapidly and with increasing specificity, some suggesting she maintained a previous name on medical records for personal reasons, others going considerably further into territory that has not been officially confirmed by anyone with real knowledge or access.
Hid. Not because I was embarrassed. Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private.
Then another clip resurfaced and added fresh and significant fuel to an already burning conversation. A 2015 rally video showed Erika standing beside her former partner JT Massey at a public political event. And what grabbed immediate attention was the presence of a young child standing between them. Viewers started analyzing the body language in that clip with the same frame-by-frame intensity they had applied to everything else, describing the dynamic between the three of them as having family energy, rather than the casual proximity of former partners who happened to be at the same event. That interpretation is based entirely on brief and potentially misleading visual observation. But in the context of everything else already circulating, it was enough to push people significantly further into questioning territory. That single video pushed the conversation toward asking whether Erika had a previous family chapter that was substantially more significant than anything publicly discussed before she married Charlie. Old photos then surfaced showing Erika with two different children across different images. In one, she's with a young blonde girl familiar to followers. In another, she appears with an older, dark-haired girl. The photos alone prove nothing and could carry completely innocent explanations.
No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person. That's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence. Now, did we know that no, not until we were like 3 months into our relationship and looking at times.
But in the middle of sustained and organized speculation, they raised more questions than they resolved and gave the conversation additional momentum. It didn't need any help finding. And just when the layers already felt overwhelming, a 15-minute audition tape resurfaced showing Erika and a former partner auditioning for The Amazing Race together. The footage itself wasn't new. It had existed for years. But the specific timing of its reappearance made it explode across every platform with fresh energy and fresh examination. Critics argued it demonstrated that certain past connections were maintained significantly longer and with considerably more intimacy than the official narrative around her life before Charlie had suggested. Supporters countered that it was simply old footage from a period that predated her marriage and carried no current relevance. What nobody could argue about was the visible dynamic in that audition tape, because Erika and her partner in that footage come across as genuinely flirtatious, physically comfortable, and operating with the kind of easy familiarity that suggests sustained closeness rather than casual reconnection. The jokes they exchanged, the physical proximity, the general energy of the interaction, none of it read like two people who had moved on from something that was now meaningfully in the past. It read established, familiar, and emotionally charged in ways that surprised a significant number of viewers seeing the clip for the first time. What made the contrast even sharper for those viewers was the timeline they placed alongside it. Around that same general period, Erika had publicly described herself as single, focused, and spiritually committed to waiting and preparing herself for her future husband. When audiences then saw the undeniable chemistry in that audition tape, many found the gap between those two realities genuinely difficult to bridge. To them, it didn't look like someone who had cleanly closed a chapter. It looked like someone whose stated life narrative and documented reality were operating on significantly different tracks simultaneously. Then there was the relationship with JT Massey specifically, which keeps resurfacing because Erika's own earlier descriptions of it made it sound deeply serious and emotionally substantial. She had referred to him in terms that suggested genuine depth, calling him extraordinary and describing him as her best friend during that period. Polished photos of them together existed online that had the visual composition and presentation of engagement portraits rather than casual relationship documentation. The tone and the visual evidence suggested a relationship that was heading somewhere significant, which is why the eventual complete absence of that chapter from her later public narrative felt jarring and abrupt to people who knew it had existed. Now bring Charlie's parents directly into focus, because ever since Charlie passed, the same quiet but persistent question kept resurfacing in discussions across platforms. Where was his actual family in the public story of his death and legacy? People noticed quickly that his parents were not prominently present at the memorial events that Erika and TPUSA organized and managed. That specific and visible absence started generating its own wave of quiet but pointed questions about what might be operating behind the scenes. In the weeks following Charlie's death, the pattern continued. Erika appeared to be leading every tribute, every public statement, every organizational decision tied to his name and his legacy. Meanwhile, his parents remained conspicuously distant from any public involvement. Online observers started asking directly whether there was tension building that long predated any cameras being turned on anyone. Reports of friction between Erika and Charlie's family began circulating, and the optics of watching someone else take complete and comprehensive control over everything their son built while remaining sidelined from the process generated significant emotional reactions from the people paying close attention. According to speculation that spread widely, Charlie's parents were also allegedly navigating severely limited access to their grandchildren, the last living and meaningful connection they had to their son. Whether that was fully accurate or significantly exaggerated, the perception generated enormous emotional responses and kept the tension around the broader situation intensely active. Then, the alleged DNA result entered the conversation. And when that specific claim started spreading, the tone of everything shifted completely. Instead of a visible and organized custody challenge, it appeared that Charlie's parents stepped back entirely and went quiet. Supporters of Charlie's family interpreted that as a devastating and private concession. People who had already carried the weight of losing their son now facing information that redirected where their energy and attention could realistically go. But here is the specific part that keeps this story alive and circulating despite the passage of time. Erika has continued forward publicly and apparently without significant disruption. She has not signaled any meaningful pause, any visible shift in approach, or any direct engagement with the DNA claims being spread. Whether she treats them as baseless noise that doesn't deserve dignifying with a response, or whether there's a more calculated reason for maintaining silence. That absence of response has filled the available space with more speculation rather than less. And that specific contrast between the reported silence and withdrawal of Charlie's parents and Erika's continued visible and active public presence is precisely what keeps this entire story refusing to settle or resolve in any way that satisfies the people demanding real answers. What a significant portion of people on all sides of this conversation genuinely agree on is this. Charlie was a father to those children in every way that demonstrably mattered. Regardless of what any biological test might or might not show, he showed up for them, he provided for them, he built a future with them deliberately and specifically in mind. That reality doesn't get erased by any subsequent allegation or any disputed test result, and people close to that situation have consistently maintained that he worked hard to ensure those children would be protected and secure even in his absence. But where emotions genuinely run the hottest is around what people believe should be happening right now in the absence of clear accountability. Many online critics are arguing forcefully that this specific moment should be about stability and genuine protection for children who are navigating an enormous loss, while also being surrounded by an ongoing and very public storm they never asked to be part of. For those people, this has stopped being internet debate and started feeling like a question of real-world adult responsibility during circumstances that couldn't be more serious. Erika remains the central voice everyone is waiting on, because she is the one person who could theoretically provide clarity, confirm verifiable facts, and address the most persistent and most damaging rumors in a way that might actually shift the conversation. Instead, silence has continued filling that space, and silence in high-stakes situations like this one never ends the speculation. It only organizes and intensifies it. Whether she genuinely doesn't owe the public any answers, or whether there are specific things she is not positioned to address without serious consequences, that debate continues raging across every platform where this story lives. And through all of it, the children remain at the center of a situation they did not create and cannot control. Which is precisely why the emotional temperature around this entire story remains so extraordinarily high. People aren't just arguing about timelines and ultrasound screenshots anymore. They are asking whether accountability will ever materialize in any form, and whether the people with the power to provide it will ever choose to use it. What do you think is really happening here? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe, share this with someone following the story, and stay locked in for what comes next.